Imagine you're an alchemist living in Skyrim, gathering supplies in the marsh like you do most nights. But the sky is much darker than usual, and you know you've stayed out later than you should have. The fog is thick tonight, thick enough that you can't see more than a few steps ahead. On your way home, you hear footsteps behind you. You stop, look back, and wait, but nothing comes out of the mist. You turn to keep walking, and something hits you before you can react. You hit the ground, and just like that, everything fades as your life comes to its end. So that begs the question, what actually happens after you die in the Elder Scrolls universe? Players talk about Sovngarde, the Soul Cairn, or Aetherius, but the truth is that the afterlife in this world isn't just a single place. It's a network of destinations, each shaped by unique rules. Your soul doesn't move at random. It follows a path based on your beliefs, the culture you were raised in, and the gods you served. Not to mention any magical forces that touched your life. In this story, we'll follow that path, as we look at the forces that pull a soul in different directions, the powers that claim it, and the moments where fate can be changed or interrupted entirely. To understand any of this, we need to begin with the basics. What is a soul, and what actually decides where it goes? When somebody dies in the Elder Scrolls universe, their body stays behind, but the soul? It does not. You see, a soul isn't the same as a memory or personality. It's the animus, the spark of magicka that comes from Aetherius. Every mortal has a soul, and it's the part of you that continues even after death. Most cultures explain this differently though, but the idea is the same. When your body dies, your soul begins a transition out of the physical world, and something decides where that soul is going to end up. It follows rules that exist everywhere in Tamriel, even if most people never learn what those rules are. Some races believe your gods decide your fate. Others believe your ancestors call you. Some think the world itself pulls you back into a greater cycle. Different races have different explanations for this process, but they're all describing the same thing in their own way. But before we look at each culture and each afterlife, we need to identify the core system behind all of it. Once those rules are clear, every afterlife in the Elder Scrolls series becomes much easier to understand. When we talk about the core system that decides a soul's destination, it boils down to 6 factors. The first factor of which is faith. If you spent your life following a specific god or tradition, that belief can determine your destination. This is most obvious with Nords who follow Shor, or Dunmer who serve the 3-god Daedra, or Redguards who honour the Yokudan pantheon. In these cases, your afterlife is tied directly to the god or tradition that you placed your trust in. Second, we have ancestry. Some races are connected to specific afterlives through culture and history. Examples include Khajiit, who are guided by Azura, and Argonians, whose souls return to the Hist. These destinations apply even without active worship, because they're tied to identity and bloodline. Number 3 is Pacts. If you served a Daedric prince, made a bargain, or acted under their influence, that pact overrides almost everything else. A follower of Hircine, for example, will go to the hunting grounds regardless of their culture. So in essence, Daedric contracts take priority. Number 4 is curses or states of being. Vampires are linked to Molag Bal, werewolves are tied to Hircine, undead creatures like Droga or liches are held in a place and prevented from moving on. These conditions have a direct impact on the soul after death. Number 5 is magical interference. Necromancy, soul trapping, and black soul gems can interrupt the soul's normal path and redirect it to places like the Soul Cairn, or in some cases, destroy it completely. And finally, if none of these forces apply, the soul returns to the Dreamsleeve. This is the default state, a place where memories are removed and the soul is recycled back into Aetherius. Understanding this system makes it easy to explain every afterlife in the Elder Scrolls universe. When you step back and take a look at each culture across Tamriel, their afterlives might seem unrelated at first, but once you understand the system behind them, it becomes clear that every belief follows the same rules, just expressed in different ways. So now we'll dig a little deeper into each culture and their afterlife. For Nords, dying honourably is the key to reaching Sovngarde. If a Nord dies in battle, or lives a life that reflects traditional courage and strength, their soul is then guided by Sun to Shor's realm. You may be wondering what happens if a Nord dies without honour, or abandons the old ways. They don't end up in Sovngarde. Their soul follows the general system instead, often returning to Aetherius or being redirected by other forces. So, Sovngarde is not a guarantee, it's a reward tied directly to Nord values and the will of Shor. Imperials, on the other hand, don't have a specific afterlife realm. Their faith in the 8 or the 9 doesn't assign them to a dedicated plane. Instead, Imperial souls normally return to Aetherius, the source of magicka and the place where mortal souls originate. Unless an Imperial forms a pact with a Daedric prince or is affected by magical interference, Aetherius is the default destination. Bretons alongside the Imperials share the same fate. Even with their mixed Nord and Elven ancestry, they are not tied to any unique cultural afterlife. Their souls return to Aetherius unless another factor overrides it. Their magical traditions and druidic beliefs do not point them to a separate realm, so Aetherius remains their standard destination. Redguards are interesting as they follow the old Yokudan beliefs, and their afterlife reflects this. A Redguard who lives honourably, following the codes of their ancestors, is taken to the Far Shores, a desert-like paradise where spirits rest and reflect. The Far Shores is tied to tradition and conduct, meaning a Redguard who abandons these principles may not reach it at all. Faith and lifestyle play a direct role in their destination. Now, for the Altmer, death is viewed as a release. High Elves believes mortal life is a flawed state created by Lorcan, so when an Altmer dies, their soul returns to Aetherius, rejoining the unbroken light their people value. There's no unique realm for the Altmer. Their goal is to simply return to their origin. Bosmer are bound to the Green Pact, which shapes both their lives and their afterlives. Their bodies and souls are directly linked to Aether, the storyteller. When a Bosmer dies, their soul enters Aether's cycle, a continuation of the natural order the Green Pact represents. It's not a sealed realm with halls or guardians. It's a spiritual return to the system Aether created. This happens regardless of personal worship because it's tied to their identity and the Pact. The Dunmer afterlife depends heavily on who they served in their life. Most Dunmer align with one of the 3 god Daedra, Azura, Boethia, or Mephala. A follower of Azura may enter a realm of twilight and prophecy, whereas a warrior who serves Boethia enters a realm built around trial and combat. A devotee of Mephala becomes part of her web of secrets and influence. Ancestor worship also plays a role. Some Dunmer spirits remain accessible to their families for guidance, but overall, their afterlife is defined by devotion to the 3. Khajiit believe their souls travel to the sands behind the stars, guided by Azura. This afterlife is tied directly to their lunar origins and the role the moons played in their creation. As long as a Khajiit follows the traditional faith, their soul is led to this place. But if they turn away from Azura entirely, or enter a Daedric pact, their destination can change. But under normal circumstances, the sands behind the stars is where they go. And finally, for Argonians, death returns their soul to the Hist. This isn't a singular realm, but a shared dream, a collective memory that connects all Argonians tied to their tribe's history. Their identity merges with this dreaming state, allowing them to remain part of the community even after death. Thus, this destination is tied to ancestry and connection. Even without active worship, the Hist claims their souls. With each culture following these rules in their own way, the system behind the afterlife becomes clearer, but this structure can be changed, because some souls aren't guided by cultural belief, they're claimed by pacts. Not every soul follows the path laid out by culture or ancestry. In many cases, a pact can be made during life that overrides everything else. Daedric agreements are some of the strongest forces in the Elder Scrolls universe, and they take priority over almost every other rule. If someone serves a Daedric prince, whether willingly or through influence, that prince often claims them after death. A follower of Hircine goes to the hunting grounds. This realm is shaped around a constant pursuit and challenge, reflecting Hircine's values and the nature of lycanthropy. A worshipper of Molag Bal is taken to Cold Harbour. This is one of the harshest Daedric realms, and Baal's influence stretches far enough that even those who become vampires are tied to him by default. Those who follow Boethia enter her realm, a place centered around testing strength, ambition, and betrayal. For Boethia, the afterlife continues the same cycle of proving oneself through conflict. A servant of Mehrunes Dagon is pulled into the Deadlands. This realm reflects destruction and upheaval, both of which define Dagon's role in the cosmic structure. And anyone devoted to Hermaeus Mora becomes tied to Apocrypha. This realm is a place of knowledge and secrecy, and Mora claims those who seek forbidden truths or swear loyalty to his power. These destinations override cultural afterlives, such as a Nord who follows Molag Bal will not reach Sovngarde, and a Khajiit who swears themselves to Hircine will not walk the sands behind the stars. So in short, the pact becomes the deciding factor. Daedric influence can completely redirect a soul, and once that pact is made, it is extremely rare for anything else to break that claim. Some conditions in the Elder Scrolls universe permanently change what happens to a soul after death. These aren't tied to faith or personal belief. they're tied to what you became in life. The first example of which is vampirism. Anyone who becomes a vampire is connected directly to Molag Bal. This link overrides culture and worship, as when a vampire dies, their soul is claimed by Baal, because the condition itself is considered a form of his influence. The second example is lycanthropy. Werewolves are tied to Hircine. Whether they choose the condition or had it forced upon them, their soul goes to the hunting grounds. Unless the curse is cured before death, Hircine treats this as part of his domain. Next are the undead, which include Droga, skeletons, liches, and other reanimated forms. When someone is turned into undead, their soul is held in place unnaturally. It doesn't move on, and it isn't sent to an afterlife. The body becomes a vessel bound by magic, preventing a normal transition entirely. Droga are a specific case of this, as their souls are anchored to their bodies through ancient Nordic rituals, usually to guard tombs or serve dragon priests. They cannot reach Sovngarde or any other destination while the binding remains. Then we have ghosts, which are normally not full souls but remnants. A ghost appears when a person dies with unsolved trauma, unfinished goals, or strong emotional ties. These remnants linger temporarily while the main soul has already moved on. Ghosts are normally echoes and not the complete spirit. Each of these states changes the journey of a soul in a different way, and in many cases, the soul never reaches its intended afterlife at all. Some souls don't follow their intended path because magic interferes with the transition. These are cases where a spell, artifact, or ritual overrides the normal rules and redirects a soul somewhere it wasn't meant to go. The most common example of this is necromancy. When someone is raised from the dead, their soul is pulled back towards the body or held nearby. This prevents the soul from moving to its proper afterlife. As long as the necromantic influence remains, the soul is trapped in place or forced to linger unnaturally. The next major factor is soul trapping. When a mortal is killed under the effect of this spell, their soul doesn't go to an afterlife at all. It's pulled into a soul gem. If the gem is used to power an enchantment, the soul is consumed in the process, removing it from any natural cycle. Black soul gems are even more severe. They can hold the souls of humans and other complex mortals, and once captured, those souls are often sent to the soul cairn. The ideal masters claim these souls and use them as a power source. The soul is trapped permanently unless the gem is broken or the binding is disrupted, which is extremely rare. The soul cairn is not an afterlife in the traditional sense. It's a realm that feeds on trapped souls. Anyone who ends up there has been removed from their natural fate, whether that fate was Aetherius, Sovngarde, or something else entirely. Magic can also completely destroy a soul outright. If a soul gem shatters while a soul is contained inside it, the soul may be lost permanently. In cases like this, no afterlife claims a spirit at all. These forms of interference show that magic can override even the strongest cultural divine rules. When magic is involved, the destination of a soul can become unpredictable, or in some cases, final. When none of the other forces claim a soul, no cultural afterlife, no Daedric pact, no curse, and no magical interference, the soul returns to what is known as the Dreamsleeve. The Dreamsleeve is one of the most fundamental concepts in Elder Scrolls lore. It acts as the universal reset point. When a mortal soul enters it, their memories and identity are stripped away, leaving only the core essence behind. This process isn't considered punishment, it's simply just the default state. Most souls throughout history have followed this path, especially mortals who had no strong religious ties or magical influence affecting them. And once a soul is purified, it can re-emerge into the world through reincarnation or the natural flow of life. The Dreamsleeve feeds the cycle of birth, magicka, and the mortal existence across Nirn. Some scholars believe that the Dreamsleeve is also the channel through which the gods communicate with mortals, sending visions, dreams, or prophetic messages. But for most people, it serves a single purpose. It's where a soul goes when no other destination applies. In simple terms, if nothing claims you, the Dreamsleeve does. It is the final fallback in the afterlife system, and it's the reason the cycle continues. Now that each part of the system is clear, we can outline the hierarchy that decides where a soul goes after death. If a person served the Daedric prince, that pact takes priority. The soul is claimed by the prince's realm, no matter the race or culture. In the state of no pact, curses or states of being come next. Vampirism, lycanthropy, and undead override cultural afterlives and redirect the soul accordingly. If neither of those applies, magical interference can still interrupt the process. Soul trapping, necromancy, or black soul gems can divert the soul entirely or remove it from the cycle. If none of that are present, culture and faith determine the destination. Each race and tradition has specific belief systems that guide the soul to places like Sovngarde, the far shores, the sands behind the stars, or the Hist. And if no god, No curse, no spell, and no belief exerts influence. The soul ultimately returns to the Dreamsleeve by default. Thank you everyone for watching and for taking the time to explore this with me. The Elder Scrolls universe has much more hidden systems like this, some more obvious and some buried deep in the lore, and I'm so excited to uncover them with you. If you would like to see more, or if there's a topic you want me to break down next, let me know in the comments. Your support genuinely helps shape where these investigations go. And remember, in a world like this, nothing ends with death. There's always another layer waiting beneath it.